An NBA season guaranteed to have a different champion for the 7th straight year. Are the Thunder up? NHL not guaranteed that. Defending champ Panthers showed the heart of a champion. The hard foul that launched 1,000 takes. We'll talk about that. And journalism. We'll talk about that all with this panel for one more time around the horn. George Sedano, Jen Latta, David Dennis Jr., and Kevin Clark. Let's go around the horn.
A win for journalism, Tone.
I'm familiar with journalism.
Wasn't it great? I mean, the poetry. Just write yourself.
The run they gave us was impressive. They're a bunch of zombies, and we're better now than we were at the beginning of the series, and it's because of them. They pushed us to the limit.
OKC coach Mark Daigneault saying they're a better team now because of how the Nuggets played them. That's interesting. I want your take on that. It was sweaty. They were down double digits in Game 7 at home, but then they turned a switch, up 40 at one point, and a series-clinching beatdown. Youngest team in the NBA, heavily favored, but the youngest team in the NBA makes the conference finals. George Sedano, around the horn to you. You've covered a number of these Thunder games this year. Seen them up close. What did you see in this series and specifically in Game 7?
Tone, two things real quick before I answer. Number one, I'm going to try not to cry. Number two, I'm going to break your banned word button today. I'm just letting you know on the front end. Okay, let's start with the Thunder. Tone, I've seen them since their first play-in game 2 seasons ago. Every single year, they seem to learn more and more. Every single year, I come on the show and say, they're younger than a bazillion college teams, and they are learning on the job. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good with the Aaron Gordon situation, but heading into this series, there was this chatter, oh, they can't win the close games because all they do is blow people out. They're too young. They can't overcome the champs. Well, here they are. They overcame a former champion, the best player on the planet. They lost the first 2 clutch games. They won the next 2, and then they overcame a deficit early, blew them out of the water in Game 7. This is a team that continually understands the moment. They have a phrase that they like to use, Tone, which is win the days in between and reset to neutral. No matter what happens, the day before, the day after, win or loss, it doesn't matter. Get back to a neutral state of mind. That's Mark Daigneault's culture that he's established, and it disparages the narrative that young teams can't win.
You did it
I
again.
think it's their time.
But I love the inside information from George. Now, Jen Latta, around the horn to you, what you saw from these Thunder in this Game 7 win.
Well, I appreciate George emptying his reporter notebook after covering the series. That is good work by him. And I do think that Nikola Jokic is obviously going to be home in time to fulfill his Serbian responsibilities. But they shot 49% from the floor, guys. And in part, that was because they were able to break the zone that had troubled them earlier in the series, getting the ball at the free throw line, attacking the rim. I think they're 27 dunks or layups, tied for second most in all of the games this postseason. But they also, guys, forced Jokic into having a bad game. 20 points. He had some turnovers, only 7 assists. I think he averages 10. So if you can force one of the MVP candidates into a bad night, that's a recipe
One
for
of the
success.
MVP candidates. There was this great theory, they should have put the MVP in the middle of the court and just had the winner, SGA or Jokic, carry it home. David Dennis Jr., around the horn to you.
The Oklahoma City Thunder did something that is so rare for a young team. They showed up in Game 7 and overperformed what the expectation for them for. They had some jitters at the beginning, but everybody stepped up, whether it was Caruso playing 80% of the defense against Jokic and helping to shut him down relative to what Jokic is used to doing. Then there's SGA playing on both sides of the court. But to me, the story is Jalen Williams, after that really abysmal Game 6, showed up and was the second best player on that Thunder team. Everybody on this team elevated to a new level, and they went through this series to make them better and better primed to have a championship level run. Winning 3 of the last 4 games against this Denver Nuggets team has positioned themselves to be ready to go get that championship.
I'm hearing what you guys are saying. You're impressed with the way they grew. This was a 68-win regular season team, though. There was an expectation that they have to make this conference finals. Kevin Clark, around the horn to you.
I'll borrow a phrase from boxing, which is that young teams don't age in years, they age in games. And so, yes, they are a better team after playing a series like this. They've become a veteran team. They feel like they've been together for a long time. And so, no, I don't even consider them that young of a team. If we had all these stats last year about how they were younger than North Carolina or all those college basketball teams or whatever. But for me, the most impressive thing is the defensive game plan they had against the presumed MVP. Because guess what? The best way to not have him destroy you with the ball, don't let him get the ball. Fewest touches he's ever had in a playoff game. That's all due to Alex Caruso. Yeah. And so when I look at this, I'm just thinking about the fact that they have the best mark when down 10 points in 27 years by a team. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs are able to do, and that's what the Oklahoma City Thunder are able to do.
Oh, that's a cross-sport band phrase there, Kevin Clark. You said presumed MVP. I think SGA is the presumed MVP this season, right? I mean, I think people
MVP
think
candidate.
Jokic would have been winning it if he hadn't won the last few. Another, to borrow a phrase from boxing, styles make fights, right? And this was an example of that. This was a tougher matchup because the style differences. What happens next with OKC and Minnesota will be thrilling. But we move on now for the Knicks because they're still big bonging out in 7th Avenue outside MSG. Unbelievable. Street lights, people living just defying the motion. It's not the finals, though. Life is all about managing expectations, isn't it? Beating the champs is great, and that's what New York just did. Now a rematch from last year to who went into your building and beat you in a Game 7. Knicks Pacers. David, before we get there, are the Knicks a different team this year, and how?
Well, as somebody who never doubted the Knicks at any point in the playoffs, vindicated about what they've done so far. But yeah, the Knicks are a different team right now because they are now unexpectedly the big dogs in the East. They came in as sort of the little brother to the Celtics and the Cavs. Nobody gave them a shot, and they earned that victory against the Celtics. And now they have home court advantage against a Pacers team with the expectation for them and that fan base that they are going to make it into the finals. This is not going to be an easy series. The Pacers have an explosive offense. They're just as good in the clutch, and the Knicks are going to have to take that big dog mentality they had in Game 6 to take out Boston and use that all through this Eastern Conference Finals.
Kevin Clark, what do you see with the Knicks? Do you see a different team right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll start here, which is that they led more in this game than the entire rest of the series combined. So yeah, I saw a different team. Also, if you're fan policing and saying, oh, the Knicks shouldn't go, their fans shouldn't go out on 7th Avenue and do this, it's not the finals. Get another hobby. The Knicks fans have been waiting for a release like this for a decade or more. All of the losses, all of the tanking, all of the Isaiah Thomas and the bad coaches and all of that stuff, it's finally over. This is a team New York can be proud of, and it's sustainable. That's the most important thing for me. The Celtics got blown out by a bigger margin than any defending champion ever in an elimination game. This is a special team. I really like this Knicks team.
George Sedano.
Two things, Tone. I'll keep it very simple. They were 0-13 against the top 3 seeds in the regular season. Their defense was in the bottom third, a Tom Thibodeau team with a defense in the bottom third, and that is completely flipped in this postseason. Whether it was, and that's the difference right now. The NBA, the regular season and the postseason don't translate anymore. That's just how the game seems to be headed over the last couple of years, particularly. But this is a perfect season to encapsulate that. And look, their defense is so good, Tony. Dare I say, it's elite.
Oh, I know what you're doing here, but I want to get to you ask a beautiful question, a reporter's question. Why did it switch so quickly for the New York Knicks? You can tell me the regular season is different than the postseason. Jen Lato.
Two things.
I'll go back to you, George. Jen, please.
I do think that some of it is buying into Tom Thibodeau, and I'm a huge fan. I'm thrilled that he was able to get these guys to gel. But even he made some adjustments during this series defensively, right? Asking guys to switch more often than they were used to. And Thibodeau is a guy who has been criticized so much during his coaching career for being too demanding, for putting too much on his players. These guys have welcomed it. They have embraced it. I will say this, though. After the game, he was asked about what he thought of the game, and he said, I thought we played pretty terrific. An effusive praise from Tom Thibodeau? Who are you and what have you done with the coach that we know?
All right, Sedano, back in.
No, Jen nailed it. The switching. He switched more than he's ever had in his career. And I'll also add, the reason that happened, Mitchell Robinson's health. Mitchell Robinson allowed them to play defense that way in a way that they're not familiar with.
We know how valuable a player is in the league. You can get lost on what his shot looks like or in the regular season, the ups and downs of his games. The last 4 minutes of a playoff game, who else in the world do you want more on Jalen Brunson on the offensive side, the clutch player, and Mikal Bridges on defense, where he just takes the ball away from the opposition to win games multiple times in this series? One more thing here. I said it as we started the show. 7th straight year, we're going to have a different champion in the NBA. It's the first time it's ever happened. Is that a good thing, George Adano?
No question about it, Tony. Parity allows fan bases to feel like they're in it. This is no longer about, oh, the Celtics and the Lakers or whatnot. The small markets can compete. We have 3 teams who've never won a championship and the Knicks who haven't won since 1972-73. This is great for basketball.
David Dennis Jr.
Yeah, I think in general, parity is good. The different teams are good. Unpredictability is good in the NBA. I will say, however, on this show, we could have used a little bit less parity. I think I could have had a few wins in a row.
Wait, what's it better? You don't think there was unpredictability in this show? You didn't even see this mute coming. Or this mute. Or this mute. You don't see it coming. Where are you going now, David? You didn't see that one coming.
You know what, Tone? If he was a generational panelist, then that would have been the case.
Oh, my goodness. What are you doing, Sedano? We're taking a break. Buy yourself next. Scotty Scheffler, a year and a day ago in cuffs. And that is 65 on Saturday, put the field in cuffs. And then Sunday, career major number 3, going away by 5 strokes. Did everything well, but the final hoist of the trophy. The trophy, long tradition on this show where I call it the Wanamaker the Wanamaker Trophy. This Nike ad was phenomenal work as well, playing up the cuffs, of course, and last year's whole scene. Kevin, buy or sell the weekend that was for the PGA Championship.
Buying Scotty Scheffler, selling Nike, not putting Scotty Scheffler in orange all 4 days as a little homage to what happened last year. He only wore it a couple times. He wore blue yesterday. But no, for me, listen, you look at his record right now, 3 majors, 15 tournaments before age 29. Only 2 guys do that in history before him, Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. He's in that kind of rarefied era. And that kind of greatness can often be boring. He's converted his last 8 54-hole leads, and I think, by the way, that's the longest in 15 years for anybody, but I think that lends itself to guys like Jon Rahm trying to take risks in the back 9, knowing he's going to be so consistent as he closes it out. He's not going to make those kind of mistakes. So all these guys are doing birdie chasing, eagle chasing, all of that stuff, and they start to make mistakes. Scheffler never will.
Yeah, we're going to do Clark chasing after that in-depth answer here. George Sedano, what are you buying from the PGA?
Tone, this is a guy who, in the last 4 years, has basically won 1 out of every 5 tournaments he's entered. To Kevin's point, it does put him in rarefied air. It puts him in the conversation, Tony, with the likes of Jack and the likes of Tiger. Listen,
I hear what you're saying. Can we put pause on that for a second? Because sometimes, you give me that stat, he wins 1 in 5. And I'll tell you, there was the enormous break in the way we watch golf. I mean, half the tour went to live, right? So we have to be acknowledging of that. Like half the best players in the game left the tour. Now he's winning 1 in 5.
But they're all playing in the majors.
That's right.
And he's got 3
now
of those.
Now he's got 3. Jen Latta, around the horn to you.
Well, when I first heard that he had a new driver, I thought it was an ode to the police car. That
everybody's got Joe.
I'd request a new driver too, but we are witnessing greatness, and I hope that people are recognizing that. You mentioned Jack, you mentioned Tiger, him in their category. He didn't even play his best golf on Sunday, guys. I think he hit 2 of his first 7 fairways, yet he was able to course correct, if you will, and still hold the Wanamaker. You would think that they would know by now that the top doesn't stay on that sucker, but they all drop the top every single time. The other thing I will say, guys, is we've been conditioned to think that greatness looks a certain way, that the best looks a certain way, that there's a brashness, a cockiness that goes along with it, that there has to be a rival and a feud. There's none of that. Good luck finding somebody that dislikes this guy. He's so stinking likable, and he makes golf more accessible.
So stinking likable. I love the way you said. David, one thing, your takeaway from the PGA.
is the fact that he can win ugly, now playing particularly well on Sunday and still being able to pull away and having that, making everybody else nervous to the point where he can just play as well as he possibly can, but not great and still win.
Well, he did set the course on fire on Saturday. We'll move on. Buy or sell two NHL closeouts from this weekend. Dallas doing it in overtime on the power play to vanquish the Jets. Stars' third straight conference finals. And Florida, well, repeat still in play. 3 in the second, 3 in the third. The Leafs leaping the season as the drought continues there. David, what to buy, what to sell from these closeouts?
Buying the Panthers here and their dominant win. They're now 3-0 on the road in Game 7. That is killer instinct and championship-level hockey from a team that's trying to go back
Kevin
again.
Clark.
Yeah, selling the Maple Leafs as hard as I possibly can. Austin Matthews now 0 for 6. 0 goals in Game 7. At some point, you're going to want to score some goals there, Austin Matthews. But with this Maple Leafs team, which cannot get out of its own way, one of the worst plus-minuses in the history of the playoffs in 2 consecutive home games, -10. That's pretty bad.
George Sedano.
Tone, I'm going to steal a line David would have probably used. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And Toronto wanted the man. Their fans wanted Florida, and it became problematic for them, Tone, in this series.
Strong argument, though. Jen Latta, to you.
Oh, George is doing such a good job with this, guys. All playoff hockey is good hockey. I am buying that. And I am also not going to make the mistake that we made last year on this very show during the Stanley Cup final and forget about Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yes.
That's right. Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yes, all right.
I'm going to say
So
his name multiple times because we forgot about him.
Well, the champs are still in it. Not like the NBA. We could have a repeat champion there. Buy or sell 3. WNBA opening weekend. No shortage of headlines. Opening game scoring records for both Nafisa Collier and Kelsey Plum. Liberty over the Aces in their big head-to-head. Lynx Redemption Tour starts with 2-0. But it's the moment in Indiana that got everybody's attention. Clark on Reese. Refs reviewed it, called it a flagrant 1 after the game. Here's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese addressing it.
Let's not make it anything that it's not. It was just a good play on the basketball.
Basketball play, refs got it right. Move on.
And after that, the WNBA also had a release talking about they're looking into allegations of hateful fan interactions coming out of it. Jen, was this basketball play like the player said?
Look, I grew up watching basketball in the 90s. If you think a flagrant foul with a couple of technicals tacked on is going to make me clutch my pearls, you have got it all wrong. I love fierceness. I love competitiveness. I love a rivalry. I love what these women are building. And I also think that you should believe that if the men can play tough, the women can play tough as well. I believe it was a basketball play. Clark trying to keep her from scoring inside, which is where Angel Reese does almost all of her damage.
Dennis Jr.?
Selling this as a big deal, intense play, hard foul. Angel Reese got upset. Happens all the time. What I would rather talk about is the fact that the Fever look like an actual top 4 team in the WNBA, and Caitlin Clark.
You're going there already. One win. They look like it. Okay.
Candidate right now. That's why I had them coming at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
They look every bit of that.
Make a season guarantee. I'm not going to be here to mute you. You got them in the finals, it sounds like. Are they going to get there? Kevin Clark, around the horn to you.
Yeah, echoing what the first 2 panelists said, I'm selling this is a big deal. I'm glad both players moved on. This is just kind of what good basketball looks like sometimes. It's hard fouls. It's a little shoving. It's fine. We move on. Everybody does it in every single league around the world. WNBA should be no different. I'm also buying the Indiana Fever as a franchise. The talent gap looked massive over the weekend.
And Saddam.
Tony, real quick. Reese got away with a little push. Caitlin retaliated. All within the rules of basketball. Doesn't mean there isn't a little extra intent behind it. Their legacy, Tony, will be tied together. I've been telling you that from the beginning when they were drafted.
Doing this. You know what's wonderful? No eliminations. We're going to showdown 4 wide. Stick around. Showdown next. The thrilling end to the Preakness. Watch how this race breaks through. Journalism sneaking through. The poetry lost on nobody here as it crosses the winner and the parallels to our showdown. If you allow me to connect our reality as we say goodbye to journalists who carried this show for 23 years this week. It is my honor and privilege to say one last FaceTime to you all. George Sedano, the FaceTime is yours.
Thank you, Tone. I appreciate it. Bam Adebayo of the Heat recently said, if you don't know about Heat culture, you've never been in it, you don't get it. Same thing with Around the Horn, the culture you guys built here. Thank you for allowing me on those Halloween shows 3 straight years. Go to my Instagram and Twitter. You'll see a video Tony sent me out before my first show. And I'll finish with a band phrase. At the end of the day, Tony, it's been an honor and a pleasure for all of us.
Jen Latta, please, the FaceTime is now yours.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be on Around the Horn. Taking some liberties with the Goodfellas quote, I know, but it's true. I remember being a 20-year-old watching the show in my apartment every afternoon, and I believe I hold the distinction of being the last panelist to join the show. Shows, people, stories, those are parts. The soul is Tony and this crew who have always led with kindness, compassion, curiosity, and camaraderie. This community is the soul of this show. It has been a pleasure to be on.
Evan Clark, FaceTime now yours.
I was thinking as I was driving in today what the high school version of myself would think eating my mom's chicken parm on a couch in Orlando, Florida, watching this show if he saw that I was on this show now or the last 2 years. It's been a special journey, one of the great highlights of my life. The photo of Teddy being able to watch my first episode is something I'll cherish forever. My parents going to a sports bar in Orlando to watch every episode together. I love this show. Thank you, everybody.
David Dennis Jr. now, FaceTime.
Tony Reale, I wish I had a prop or some entertaining way to say this. This is about you. I love you. You're one of the best people I've ever known, one of the kindest guys I've ever known. You make me a better person. You make me a better dad. And even though our time here is limited, we know it's unlimited, Tony. The salad and breadsticks at Olive Garden, buddy. Every time next time we can go have a nice Italian slice, buddy. You and me.
I can't mute you. I'm not going to mute your final FaceTime. There it is. When you're here, your family on this here show, and I hope you guys, I know you guys feel that, and it's wonderful. You didn't have to do your FaceTime on us. You could have done the GOAT debate, you know, Jordan versus LeBron. We have more, some of our